Well, we're really excited about getting into the championship season. We've had a good racing season this year. I think the team has come together really well. We've raced some top caliber teams. We had a really challenging racing schedule this year, both back-to-back time and just with the caliber of teams that we raced. So we're pretty confident going into the championships. Our goal is to keep getting faster and hopefully earn a bid for the NCAA championships. So the interesting thing about this year's Big Tens is that because of the way the double duels set up and everybody's racing schedule is set up, we didn't have a lot of crossover between the western end of the Big Ten and the eastern end of the Big Ten. So that's going to be kind of interesting. And the seeding was a little challenging because we haven't had that crossover. So, seeding is sort of irrelevant. It does put you into heats, but, we're looking forward to getting out on the race course and going up against the best in our conference.
So Indianapolis, this has been the venue for how many years now? Is it comfortable down there? Do you feel comfortable with that course?
Yes, familiarity is always nice. We've been pretty fortunate. We've been there 5 or 6 years now, I think, and the NCAAs have been there for years as well. The good thing about Indy is that it's fair. The bad thing about Indy is that its nickname is Windy Indy, and we have it can be really windy. The forecast for this weekend isn't awesome, and now that we've gone to a heats and finals format again, which happened when Rutgers joined the Big Ten, since we have 8 schools participating, we have to go to heats and finals because Indy can only handle 7 lanes. That's one thing we're pushing with Devil's Lake is that it's an 8-lane course. So that would get us back to a finals-only format. But you can usually find some period of time in a weekend where you can get in 2.5 hours of racing. But now that we're heats and finals, that adds a complication, plus the fact that it's finals weekend. We don't race Saturday morning, we race Saturday afternoon to let teams get there that are still in finals. So familiarity is nice, we know what it's gonna do. It's fair, and it's there. So we're going.
Andy?
Bebe, from what you know about your team and what you know about a team like Ohio State, what's the separation point? Is it there's so many variables that go into a race that is there something that you can define that you could say, yes, they're that much better than we are, and that's how it is?
I think in the past it's definitely been confidence as well as talent. They're a very talented team. They're a very deep team. They've got 3 national championships under their belts, and so you just can't buy experience like that. You can't really train experience like that. So that confidence that they've got going out onto the race course is definitely an advantage that they have. One thing this year's team has with the Badgers is we've become confident in our own abilities, and that's something that we haven't been able to say going into this championship. We've been able to prevail. We've been able to get there. But we've always been unsure about how the performance was going to be, and I think that's something that's a little bit different about our squad across the board this year. Our freshmen are undefeated. They went up against a pretty strong Cal 3V squad out in California and beat them by a little bit of open water. They're really confident, and they've fed off of this year's varsity, who's again, they just sort of got out of their own way and are having a really good time and pushing each other really hard and have raised the level of expectation for themselves. This is a racing sport, so we can't spend a whole lot of time thinking about other people. That's a really good question, though, because you're always thinking, what are they doing that we're not? And this weekend will be a good chance for us to start answering that question. Hopefully we've closed the gap, and hopefully we'll get another shot at it after this weekend.
Did the 8s win over Cal and the 4s win over Brown? Is that really what gave you the team their confidence, do you think?
No, I think that was I think they had it before that. I think the first race that we had in San Diego, they went out and raced the thing. You know, they struggled a little bit in the second race. That's something we've been working on is holding the confidence when the stakes go up. We've had a couple of opportunities to work on that, but they have taken what they've done every day in practice, you know, and just they believe in themselves. They believe in the speed that they've seen in practice. It's not a fluke. The coach isn't making it up. There's a computer in the boat that tells them how fast they're going, and they're believing in that. And day after day after day after day, you know, hopefully that pays off. And that's what's happened with them. And the racing has really just been verification of what they've been seeing every day, which is why I'm pretty excited about them.
You sent, you know who your lineups are already this year, which never happens this early for you guys. I kind of remember back when the men were winning championships, the national championships, they basically had the same boat all year. Is that just another symbol of your confidence for the team?
Yeah, it is. And, you know, when we finished up spring training down in Sarasota, Florida, which the Olympic trials were just on that course, and it's a really nice race course. We put out lineups for that based on the training that we'd done and the seat racing and the individual stuff that we'd done. We put lineups out there, and they went really fast. They went faster than any Wisconsin boat has ever gone at the end of March after a week of really hard training. And so we knew right then that somebody was going to have to do something remarkable to break into those top boats, and we've made very few lineup changes since then. And it's just every day, they don't really have a bad day. They'll have days that aren't as good, but they don't have a bad day. They don't have a crappy day where, you know, they just don't show up to practice. They have been awesome every day. You know, no matter where we're training, they get there, they get the work done, and they get the heck out. And I think that's part of why they're as good as they are.
So it sounds like the wind that they may face and the heats that they'd have to go through to get to the finals, this team has the makeup to deal with all that stuff.
Absolutely. Nobody likes to row in crappy water. And there's this fallacy that if you practice in crappy water all the time, that you should be good in racing at it. And my theory about that is if you practice crappy in crappy water, you're going to race crappy in crappy water. So it doesn't really matter. But I think these guys can pretty much handle anything. We're not huge, so a ginormous headwind would not be to our advantage, but they know how to row. And they know what it takes to get down the course fast, regardless of the conditions. And that's something that we've also worked on, is that there's no excuses here. It's just them and the boat. And, you know, everybody's got the same conditions. That's a good thing about Indy. And the good thing about Lake Natoma, everybody has the same conditions. So you either do it well or you don't. It's completely up to you. And they get that. There's no excuses.
You mentioned the schedule change for finals. Obviously, Wisconsin's in finals this week.
Yeah.
What do you train right now with Big Ten's this weekend? You have to do well, and then also NCAA in 2 weeks from there. Do you taper? How does that work?
That's a really good question, and it's a hard question because ideally you can't taper for both, period. So if you have to taper for Big Tens to get selected to NCAAs, you're probably not going to get faster at NCAAs. But if you don't taper at all, and you should have, and you don't make it, then you don't win the Coach of the Year award. So, you know, it's a toss-up. The whole finals thing just adds a whole layer of planning plus the wind. So where are we going to row, at what time, with which boats, and will they all be there? The good news about having lineups set early is that we're not doing seat racing. We know who's got finals when. We have 4 different scheduled practice times today at different locations, depending on what the wind is supposed to do during the day. Yvette's staff is scouting nerds. We are weather nerds. We all know where the wind's blowing, which way, and which site tends to be right more than the other. And the fact that none of them are doesn't help us very much. But you know it's a problem when your lake shows up on the International Windsurfing website as a place that they've got data on, which it does. So we're working through this. We're working through Big Tens as much as finals will allow us to. It's sort of it's an automatic taper because we're only working them together maybe an hour and a half a day max. They need to focus on their academics right now. They've done enough work. We've gotten the work in. All we're going to do is polish now. I told them we could not row all week and we'd be fine. That's how good they are, and how ready they are. So now hopefully they don't start freaking out about that, because that may be the case.
More quick one. Carrie Graves, Badger legend, is part of the TV team now for
Yes.
BTN doing this game or this matchup this weekend. Just talk about how cool that is, I guess, to have some Badger history part of this whole thing.
Yes, Carrie's going to do I'm not sure she's the on-the-water commentary or she's going to be up in the tower, but Carrie is one of not only is she a famous Badger rower, but she's a famous Olympian and definitely one of the most influential female rowers in the United States. So to have her as part of our history is pretty fantastic, and we're really proud and honored to be racing our varsity 8 in a boat that bears her name. So I'm sure she'll be impartial, but I know that under the table there'll be a little bit of this going on.